What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Leaf and Libations Cigar Reviews. I'm Roman or Trident. Here we got Q. And today we're going to talk about the Warped Relatos. So, have you had Warped cigars yet?
I've had two Warped cigars
All right.
at your recommendation. They were both excellent. I was really impressed by the complexity of flavor and the craftsmanship. They're extraordinarily well made.
So I've had the pleasure of working with Warped since they've started at IPCPR, and they've always been very generous with us and very kind to us. So we thank Warped for that.
That's wonderful.
Again, they provided these cigars for us to talk to you guys about. They're just hitting stores last couple of weeks or so.
Wonderful.
Retail price $9 to $10. They come in little 5-packs. We'll show you those a little bit later. So like I said, Kyle has been very generous with us with regards to his cigars and everything else, and I'm actually really excited to try this cigar.
That's mine. It's got an incredible aroma.
Yeah, so this is a cigar that's made in Nicaragua. It's got some Nicaraguan fillers. It's split between Criollo and Corojo.
Okay.
And it's got an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper on it.
Wonderful.
So yeah, let's dig into this guy.
Absolutely. It's really well made just by the construction. The seams are visible, but they're tight. Minimal veins. Veins aren't a real problem unless they're super woody, at least in my opinion. It looks like a triple cap. Looks great. And like I said, the aroma is spectacular.
Yeah, just on toasting my foot here, I mean, it's producing quite a bit of smoke. I'm sure you guys can see that bellowing out of there. But it's very woody on the very beginning of it. So
I like to do a cold draw.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a very faint kind of tea, which is, I think, pretty typical with a dried leaf.
Yeah.
You get sort of tea notes and a very light sweetness on the lips, not overpowering, and it doesn't give you sort of that tingle that you get with some less fermented tobaccos. So far, really impressive, but I haven't toasted yet.
So, well, I'm going to start going because I just can't wait. I apologize for the silence, but I'm actually really enjoying this cigar when it first starts off. I think I get what you're talking about with a little bit of tea type flavor. For me, it's a little bit more on the floral side.
Okay.
I guess maybe you can kind of describe that as a wildflower tea or so, maybe.
Sure.
But yeah, it definitely has that wildflower kind of woody note for me. And it's a little bit sweet on the back end.
Yeah, I totally agree. The tea fades a little bit, and I'm starting to get more wood and a little char, actually, which is a great flavor. It's one of my favorites in cigars. And sort of a white pepper in the back of the throat, in the back of the palate, which balances well. Neither one overpowers the other, but the complexity is nice.
Right. So this is a 6x38. It's the only size right now that it's coming in, and it will be available. I think he's talked about 2 other sizes. Mm-hmm. So be interested to see what he comes out with those.
So would you consider this a short Lancero?
Yeah, it's on the very verge of it. I mean, it's not much shorter than a Lancero, but maybe petite Lance if you want to call it that. So, but yeah, 6x38. So available in stores now if you're looking for them.
Warped is a pretty young company as far as cigars go.
Actually, Kyle started about 10 years ago.
It's been 10 years.
Yeah, so this is actually one of his original blends, and he's kind of rebooting that. And he wanted people to kind of experience what he started out with. And the name, La Relatos, actually means the stories. So he's kind of verging off his openings. Now, he is a little bit younger in the United States. So most people haven't necessarily maybe heard of him, but I think he's making a big splash in the cigar industry now.
Well, like I said at the very top, the couple that I've had were at your recommendation, and this is falling right in line with the other two. The Corto was the first one that you recommended. Great flavor. This is a different blend, a different sort of recipe of flavors, a different group of flavors, but equally as enjoyable. And it's nice that 2 bands have 2 different experiences.
Right. So, well, let's dig further into this, and we'll get back to you and talk to you guys shortly about it.
Roman and I have gotten through a good portion of the first third. Yeah.
Right when you were saying that, my ashes fell. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Welcome back. Roman and I are through the first third a little bit. We both have ashed already, and the flavors are intensifying and changing pretty well.
No, I would agree with that. I mean, it's really picking up for me, that sweetness notes.
Mm-hmm.
I do still get the floral notes, woody notes, and there are some hints of just that pepper on the retro note for me. It's not overpowering pepper, like you said. It's a white pepper, a little bit of baking pepper and stuff like that. It's not overpowering by any means, but it adds just that little bit of extra complexity.
Mm-hmm.
It really hits your palate well because it makes you water.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that watering of the mouth kind of helps that flavor spread over the entire palate.
Absolutely.
And kind of pick it out. So as opposed to a cigar that kind of dries out your palate. Not saying that that's bad, it's just, a little bit.
It's a different experience.
Exactly. It helps kind of blend those flavors.
I've had a similar experience. The white pepper that I got on the initial light has faded into the background, and the woody, floral, mostly woody for me, has been at the forefront. The retrohale kind of spreads it out with a little sort of a creaminess, not creamy flavored, but sort of creamy mouthfeel texture. And when I do so, I'm also getting a little bit of cinnamon, which might be kind of the same vein as your floral.
Right.
Which is really enjoyable, and I think that's sort of the hallmark of a really well-blended cigar.
Right.
You get pepper, cinnamon, tea, wood, such a variety of flavors, when neither one of them is more prominent as to wipe out the other ones.
Right. So on that note, let's talk a little about ashing a cigar.
Sure.
So I've seen both spectrums. I'm sure you have too. Guys that want, or guys and gals now who want to, let's see how long you can get the ash, or let's knock it off every 2 seconds. What school of thought are you in?
Well, I've seen it too, and the trend on Instagram lately is all the way down to the band, don't ash it at all, and then set it up so you can take a picture of it, which I've seen lately.
So there was something like that, used to be called the nub stand.
Oh, really?
Which they used to talk about how you could smoke it all the way down and stand it up in an end, called the nub stand. So the nub cigars that used to come out, we'll even put those out, but used to call it a nub stand. So I don't think the Lancero would do that for me here.
I don't
It's a
think
little
so
bit more on
either.
the top heavy side, but
Yeah.
it would most likely fall over. Plus my ashes already come off. For me in this cigar, the ashes have been holding very well, but the ashes are beautiful white color. I mean, it's gorgeous.
I agree. As far as ashing goes, my goal is to just not ash on myself.
Correct.
And I've done it before, and with some lower quality cigars, I've ashed on myself and hurt myself. But in this case, it's clear when the ash is about to fall from me, and I knew then to get it over the ashtray and give it just the slightest tap, and it fell into the tray, and it's beautiful. I'm not partial to the super long ash if I don't have to. If it holds that long, that's wonderful.
Right.
But I certainly don't put any ego behind it.
Right. No, I don't either. And I've seen some people cheat with a paper clip through the whole thing. Anyway, so what are your thoughts about how to ash a cigar? Do you tap it lightly so it comes off? Are you a chipper, or?
For me, it depends on the ring gauge. A smaller cigar like a Lancero, generally, if I see it's about to go, I'll tap it. I'll tap it maybe a couple of times. If it doesn't go, I leave it alone. But I run the risk of wearing that ash.
Right.
But a bigger ring gauge, for me, generally a tap doesn't do it, so I cone it on the side of the ashtray, just to prevent it from coming off in a big block.
Right.
And those are the two ways that I do it. The other way I do it is accidentally.
Yeah, where it just falls in your crotch.
Right.
Okay. So I'm a little bit more on the chipping side, so I like to just kind of roll it on the edge of that ashtray and have it come off as a nice ashing, as opposed to a giant mess on a table.
Well, I've done both.
Oh, of course, we all have. So.
Yes. The worst time is while driving. I've historically had long commutes, so if I'm smoking in the car, my left arm will get it occasionally. But if I can catch it ahead of time, I won't let it out.
So I'm not normally one who smokes in my car.
No?
No, for me, this smoking is more of a relaxation thing, and I'm maybe more of an angry type driver. So I would end up throwing my cigar at my windshield with the way I've seen people drive. So
I get that.
I would prefer just to enjoy my cigars.
I use the cigar to combat the displeasure of a commute. I like audiobooks and a cigar on a long drive.
A road trip, I will generally have a cigar.
Okay.
But just during a commute, not so much.
Yeah, it wasn't always. Once I started having a longer commute, an hour, a little over an hour, a short story would do me well.
Right. All right. Well, let's get further into this guy, and we'll
Great.
talk to you guys some more. Alrighty, guys. So we're about 2/3 of the way into this cigar, and I'm not even gonna let you talk because I'm pretty excited about this one. Man, those tea notes, or that you were talking about tea, I was talking about the wildflowers. It's kind of mellowed out for me, but it's really picking up those woody notes. And everyone says cedar. I don't think it's cedar. I want to say more oaky notes. Like, kind of tastes more of like like a whiskey aging or a bourbon aging type. I think this would actually pair really well with a bourbon or a whiskey.
I agree.
Bourbon maybe overpower this cigar a little bit, so maybe a Canadian whiskey or even an Irish whiskey with those sweet notes that you would get from that wood. But man, this cigar is hitting me on all cylinders right now.
That's excellent. The pepper is almost faded completely out of the picture, and I agree. I'm not getting cedar either. I'm definitely getting oak. Cedar is sharper for me. Much
More aromatic.
It is, and that's not what I'm getting. I'm getting a very smooth, very creamy wood. Definitely oaky, and I would see your whiskey, and I would raise you one of my favorite scotches, Monkey Shoulder.
All right.
That is sweet and very woody. I think would pair really well. And if I had my druthers, that'd be what I would pair with this one.
All right, that's not bad. I mean, like I said, the pepper for me also is very minimal, but that retrohale adds a really nice complexity to that those woody notes that you pick up. Almost like a triple wood. I said I would even raise your Monkey Shoulder to Lafoy triple wood. You can get the really complexity of the wood out of that. But again, we talk about alcohol with these, and neither of us are actually drinking one right now.
That's true.
But that's all right. But again, this cigar, very complex, not overpowering. Right now, it's about a medium-bodied cigar, which actually I really like. So a lot of people talk about full-bodied cigars versus full-flavored cigars, and I think a lot of the cigar community actually mistakes those things together.
I agree.
So for me, the body of a cigar is kind of the body feel that I get out of it. So how does it make me feel?
Right.
And a full-bodied cigar is something that kind of gives me that little punch in the gut.
Yeah.
Whereas the mild-bodied cigar doesn't really have that. And then obviously medium somewhere in the middle of that. But the flavor profile, you can have a full-flavored cigar versus
and that's the distinction.
minimal flavored cigar, and something that's complex versus not complex also. And again, that's something that a lot of people mistake very quickly. All right, so people forget, to me, full bodied versus full flavored. You can have a very full flavored cigar and a mild to medium bodied cigar,
Absolutely.
which is something like a warp cigar.
Yes.
Okay, so very, very full flavored, but mild to medium body, actually medium body in this regard. And that, like I said, to me is something that is the Cuban-esque style.
Okay.
So people in the cigar industry, the forums that I belong to, really talk about Cuban-esque cigars. And out of all the ones that they've mentioned, this warp cigar is probably one that I think would be Cuban-esque.
It's very enjoyable. In fact, I'm at the point in my cigar where I take the band off and
Tape it in your book.
I tape it in my book. I've got a book of bands, and I save the bands of things I like, and the more bands of one I get, the more I realize those are the ones that I tend to go to for. This is one I would return to, absolutely. And with this much left to go in this experience, I'm looking forward to what I'll get next. But so far, it's been thoroughly enjoyable, complex, not overpowering, and medium-bodied. And I agree with the distinction that you're drawing, that medium-bodied and medium-flavored are two separate things, and they can either be elastic or inelastic. You can have a light-bodied cigar that has wildly complex flavors, or you can have one that hits you on all cylinders, full-bodied, full-flavored. I'm more looking for a full-flavored cigar, and the body is what the body is. I'm not looking for an ass kicker every time.
Right. You don't want to vomit after every cigar.
I don't. No, that would really hamper the experience. But I am looking for a full, complex experience.
Right. No, I would wholeheartedly agree with that. So, I mean, for me at least, some people do want that full-bodied cigar, and people who need that nicotine hit off their cigar.
Right.
So, for me, I don't need that. I enjoy the flavor of the cigar and the experience that comes with it. So,
right. And to Warped's credit, the band came off well, and it didn't take any wrapper, which
bonus points.
Absolutely. Sometimes they glue them down, it seems like.
Yeah.
But, this one came off really well. So kudos.
That's the Taps of Factory for you, Nick.
There you go.
All right, well, let's finish up the cigar and we'll get back to you guys.
We're near the end and what I call the burnt fingertip stage, which is a hallmark of how much you enjoyed it. If you don't enjoy it, you don't get this far down. But I am, and I'm going to get to the point where I need a toothpick.
I actually have one for you, so maybe I'll let you use it if you want it.
I don't think it would be a borrow, but I appreciate that.
So, but no, I mean, the cigar's been great. Like you said, I mean, it's burning nice. I've never had a burn issue. I've never had to touch this up. I mean, it's just a perfect burn line.
It's great.
The ash has been perfect. I mean, it's nice, ghost white, and smoking very well. I mean, the smoke production's been really good out of the cigar.
Yep.
Overall, this is definitely something that I would buy again.
Absolutely.
And I would search them out and find them and age them. Actually, I want to see what these are like aged.
Absolutely.
So these are actually the pre-release ones that we're smoking that I got at IPCPR from Kyle.
Excellent.
So we can try a fresh one later and see how they age. But overall, I said those wildflower notes that I started with almost completely gone now. The oaky notes are picking up. The pepper notes have come back for me in the final third. And overall, just a very mellow, like I said, creamy and mouth-watering cigar.
And I'm getting sort of a similar palate. The pepper is picking up a little bit at the end, which for me is typical. I noticed that. But I'm starting to get a little more sweetness, almost like honey, which I think kind of ties into the wildflower flavor that you've been talking about up until now. Thoroughly enjoyable. Like I always say, I would buy it again. I'd buy it in quantity, and I might share.
Fair enough. So what about those cinnamon notes? You still getting those or no?
No, the cinnamon has faded almost completely, and I think the honey flavors are taking that place because the pepper is still there, but it's a little warmer, and the oak is still there. Great round tobacco.
No, overall, I said Warped and the Taps of Factory have, I think, hit it out of the park on this one.
Absolutely.
If you guys like Warped or have never even tried Warped, this is one you may want to get into it with.
Absolutely, it's a great place to start. Although if you're going to start, you can't really go wrong with anything they've made, in my experience.
So, well, thanks for joining us for a cigar review by Leaf and Libations. I'm Roman. That's Andrew or Q, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.